Whenever you are speaking English, you are thinking more of how perfect you are being speaking in the language or in transmitting the message to the person you are talking to. If your answer was the first one, let me tell you that you have a huge problem. And I'm going to tell you how to solve it. But before we dive into it, I want you to subscribe to the channel, click on the bell for notifications, and smash the like button if you like this video. So, let's get started. So we got that you are thinking more about being perfect in the language than in transmitting the message itself. And this is a huge problem because when you think about how perfect you are being in your language, you are start to correct yourself. And when you start to correct yourself every single time, for example, imagine you are having a conversation and at the beginning you are in a state of flow and you are start to hang out with the person, everything is going well, but then you make a mistake. And in the beginning nothing happened, you solved it very quickly, and that's all. But suddenly you make another mistake and your anxiety starts to come out and you start to think about more self-correctness than in the message you are trying to transmit. And in that case, when that happens, you start to get more and more anxious until you get lost in the conversation and you get blocked as well. You can't speak anymore because you don't know what to say already. You lost the leash of the conversation. This happens to me before, so for that reason, I'm aware that some of you could be struggling with this. And this doesn't happen to everyone. But if you are those kind of people who have already learned a lot of rules, you already understand many things in the language, you are kind of an intermediate or even an advanced, you talk to yourself and you make just few mistakes and everything goes well, but whenever you are having a conversation with other person, there is where the problem start to emerge. If that's your case, maybe the problem that you are having are not your abilities with the language. Okay, have that in mind. If you have all the conditions I just mentioned, maybe your ability is not the problem. The problem that you could be having is your self-confidence. The self-confidence that we have affects the way we learn everything. But when it comes about languages, because we are speaking of languages, it is more powerful, your self-confidence, than you think. When we are learning a new language and you don't have self-confidence, you are start to correct yourself and you have doubts of your own abilities. And in that case, in where it arrives a point where you can't speak anymore. So, what I want you to do in order to overcome that is that you have to practice speaking. There is no other way to overcome the fear of speaking than practice speaking. But you could do it progressively. You don't have to speak to a person face to face. We have the internet, you could have online conversation with other people. Firstly, you could start by phone calls, normal phone calls, then you can do video calls, and then you can talk face to face to native speakers. You can try that to have an approach that is progressively. That's the best thing that you can do in order to overcome your fear to speak in your target language. I want you to try it. I want you to be more talkative whenever you have the opportunity to speak English. And little by little, you are going to be losing that fear. And let me tell you that sometimes, even if we learn certain rules of how to use a word and everything, but we still are making mistakes even though we already learned how it works or how certain rules work. It is because we learn them, we know them, but we haven't acquired them naturally. So even though we know them, we can't use them in a natural way. In order to use them perfectly, we have to think about it. But I need you to always remember that if the mistake that you are making doesn't affect the conversation directly, don't correct yourself. If the mistake that you are making don't get the person you are talking to get confused, don't think about it. Don't correct it. And start to apply that, and I promise that you will improve sooner or later. This is about acquiring more than speaking the problem that you're having, and you will solve it by practicing. So, see you in the next video, guys.